And we return to the Talk Shop in Studio 255. I'm Eric Henderson with Brett Glass in the 8 o'clock hour here on a Monday. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King, and we celebrate that with Brett. What's your most memorable quote from Dr. King?
Good question. I would have to think about that one.
Well, if you would take us into this week's City Council agenda preview, we'll think about that and we'll come up. Maybe we can return to it afterwards. But what's up for tomorrow's City Council meeting, 6:30 p.m.
Okay, well, the first thing to know, I guess, since you've mentioned Martin Luther King Day, is that the city does not take Martin Luther King Day as a holiday. Anything you want to do with the city, utility payments, anything like that?
Business as usual.
Business as usual. The Downtown Development Authority is having a meeting. It's not a city holiday. But interestingly enough, it is a county holiday. So if you want to do business with the county, well, there's not going to be anybody there at the county courthouse. You'll have to do that on a different day. But what we're here to talk about mainly is the agenda for Tuesday, tomorrow night. The City Council will have a regular meeting in the City Council chambers at 406 Ivinson Avenue. There'll be a pre-council meeting starting at 6:15 p.m. and the regular meeting will start at 6:30. As usual, you can watch the meeting on YouTube, or you can actually participate in the meeting if you want to by checking in on Zoom. The link to get into the meeting on Zoom is in the published agenda on the city's website. To find the agenda, you go to Agenda Center at cityoflaramie.org. Actually, it's other way around. It's cityoflaramie.org/agenda center, and find the agenda. The link will be there. So anyway, there are some interesting items on the agenda for Tuesday night that the public should know about. They'll do the usual start of the meeting with the call to order, the Pledge of Allegiance. They'll call the roll. They'll offer 3 minutes to any citizen who wants to bend their ear about a topic that's not on the agenda. And then they will move to proclamations and presentations. The proclamation that is on tap for Tuesday's meeting is a proclamation of an Arbor Day tree planting event. And that's you can find that on the agenda. They're going to be talking about what they're doing with that. And then there's going to be a public hearing having to do with the stormwater drainage issues. And the public hearing has to do with an ordinance that's going to be considered during the regular agenda part of the meeting, having to do with stormwater charges and fees. I'll get to that during when I talk about the main agenda. But they're going to have a public hearing if you want to talk about the proposed changes early in the meeting, which is probably your best shot to talk about it before they begin to take positions on the
before it's already decided.
Yes, before it's already decided, because when they consider it as a regular agenda item, you only get to speak at the end after they've really sort of made up their minds. The public hearing is a good opportunity to speak first, and I strongly recommend that members of the public who are interested in this speak during the public hearing rather than when the agenda item comes up, because then you get the first shot at talking about what's going on, and they'll hopefully consider it more carefully.
What's the point of the agenda item? Do we know?
Well, the agenda item has two main thrusts. The first thing is they talk about what happens if you're in a condominium. Who pays the fee? Does the condominium association pay the fee? Do you pay part of the fee? Who pays the amount of money which the city is assessing for stormwater drainage? And they try to clarify that. The second thing, and this is a key thing.
You mean they can mandate? They're actually considering whether they can mandate that renters don't pay the fee that there's assessed to landlords?
No, this is for condominiums where there are individual owners who are assessed
are
the
they
fee or the
individually
tax.
billed, or will the association be billed?
Exactly, and for what portions of the property.
Okay.
But then comes the more interesting part of the ordinance, which has to do with capping the fee or tax that people pay. What is being proposed is that for residential properties, you not pay more than $30 a month in fee or tax, and and if you have a commercial property, it be capped at about $200, eventually rising to about $210. Now, this is a big giveaway to some large commercial property owners, including the University of Wyoming. But it doesn't do that much for the little guy. That $30 is still more actually than most people are being assessed now. So it seems like at first when you look at it, a break for everybody, but it's really only a break for the large entities. If you're a little guy, just barely making it, if you're someone on a fixed income, say in a double wide, it doesn't help you at all. It seems to me that there ought to be a floor on the tax, not just a ceiling, so that if you just have enough space to have a roof over your head, again, if you're living in like just a double wide trailer, maybe 1,000 square feet, and that's it, that space ought to be exempted, just so that we don't have a very regressive tax. Again, that's something which people can bring up during the during the public hearing. They also will get a chance to speak to it again when the regular agenda item comes up.
I want to point out to listeners that throughout 2025, the public hearing, comments from the public were called for, but it was really clearly indicated that you didn't have to speak during the public hearing. You could speak during the regular agenda time. Well, Brett Glass brings up an excellent point. Actually, your best time to speak and be considered is during the public hearing before a decision has been made, and public comment is really analytical at the end, and it's too late. That's absolutely good advice, something worth considering. In addition, Brett Glass has made a recommendation in the past that organize your thoughts, submit a letter to council at cityoflaramie.org, where all counselors will receive it, and then you can highlight what you want to talk about and synthesize it into your 3 minutes. Now, I'm going to tell you, tomorrow will be an opportunity. Not only do you get 3 minutes during public hearing, but you get 3 minutes also awarded to you, deservedly so, during the public comments on the regular agenda item. That's 6 minutes regarding this, and that's valuable and super important.
Yes, and again, this is a controversial thing. Who pays for what? Even after this is passed, there are still going to be questions about what happens with the stormwater drainage program, because there's still a lawsuit from UW asking to be exempted completely, and there's a question of law. There's a question about whether the city can impose the tax or fee at all without putting it to the public in an election. My personal opinion is that they do need to have an election, but they haven't scheduled one.
Senator Gary Crum will speak this week in emergency proceedings at the legislature regarding surface water management. Actually, it's going to be in respect to clarification on legislative intent, and it's exactly on this topic. It's 1 p.m. Wednesday this week in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and it's going to be one of those important times that the public stand and be heard.
Yes, and by the way, this is not just an issue in the city of Laramie. The city of Cheyenne has done the same thing as the city of Laramie. It's attempted to impose this tax on the public without putting it to a vote. And like the city of Laramie, the city of Cheyenne is claiming that they don't need to put it to a vote. What Senator Crum is suggesting is that we clarify the law so there's no question suit from UW, especially if whatever is passed includes information about what should be done with constitutional public entities like the university.
And the city of Laramie is currently in a pause scenario until July 1st of 2026 regarding Surface Water Management Program implementation. Probably we need to see another extension that goes beyond July 1st, but a lot will be known shorter periods with respect to legislature activity and so forth. Perhaps that will lead to a withdrawal of litigation. Maybe it'll not do that. Maybe it'll go forward no matter what. But it's serious times and good topic, Brett. Thanks for highlighting that for us.
Yes. So anyway, this will be an interesting part of the meeting. I'll be interested in hearing what comments people have. I do recommend that if you have an interest that you come and comment, especially during the public hearing period. Anyway, council, after that public hearing, we'll move on to announcements. They're going to recognize a staff member. In this case, it is James, I may butcher this last name, Pratchil, I'm not sure, a community service officer, who I assume works for the police department. Yeah, he's the employee of the month there at the city. Then the next thing is the approval of the consent agenda. And there are the usual the usual routine things on the consent agenda that you always see. There are approvals of minutes, cemetery deeds, liquor licenses for special events. And then there's an interesting one here. Resolution 2026-06, authorizing a finance purchase agreement for a Zamboni ice resurfacer. So I guess the ice rink is getting a Zamboni, which is kind of cool. If you've ever seen one of those, it makes the ice nice and smooth. It's a lot of fun to watch it. I understand it's a lot of fun to drive and ride it.
Probably one of the most entertaining pieces of equipment known to man.
Yes. Okay. Another lease for a signal truck, and an appointment of 2 members to the city's Human Rights and Relations Commission, and that's also interesting.
What costs more, Brett? A Zamboni or a lawnmower for the city? One of the lawnmowers in 2024 was like over 200,000. I can't imagine a Zamboni being less than that.
It's between $100,000 and $200,000 typically, as I understand it. It's not a cheap piece of equipment, but if you're going to have an ice rink, you
gotta have good equipment.
Yeah, you got to have good equipment for that.
Onward.
Yes. Okay. Onward. So there'll be a couple of scheduled meetings, which I'll get to toward the end, because the meeting schedule is actually there at the end of the agenda. And anyway, the council will then move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda is an at-will employment contract between the City of Laramie and Todd Fieser, who was formerly the Assistant City Manager, who is being promoted to City Manager. And the entire contract is online if folks want to look at it. It's pretty straightforward. It looks very much like the previous one, which was given to Janine Jordan. And I guess the most interesting thing here is the golden parachute provision. If the city for any reason fires the city manager, there is a golden parachute, and it's let's see the amount here. It's $140,000, and
that's the severance.
That's the guaranteed severance pay to be paid out over 6 months, which means it's essentially the equivalent of $280,000 a year. That's a lot of money, especially considering that the average the median household income here in Laramie is about $50K a year. So that is quite a large golden parachute, and I guess there's some question over whether it should be that. The city manager's salary is $194,000 per year. So it's even more than so per month it's even more than the salary which is already quite generous. $194,000 per year is more than most people make in Laramie. So there may be some discussion about whether the numbers are correct, but that's what's currently in the contract that'll be considered tonight.
It's interesting that in December, Assistant Manager Feaser was introduced as city manager in the last session of the council meeting in December. And then on Elevating Laramie between Brad Enzi with the Laramie Chamber Business Alliance and interim city manager Feaser, it was like publicly Feaser was represented as city manager, and then it was like a step back, like, well, wait a minute, we can't. It wasn't said, but it seemed like there was a backup from that, like we needed to get some procedure done and make it official.
Yeah. Well, Todd was our acting city manager in any case, so I guess I guess
and
it's not,
this is nothing against or
it's a trivial
for.
thing.
It's just confusing, and in a world where transparency and trust are always important, I think that clarity is always helpful. And there's so much in a city council meeting. If you go to a city council meeting and you feel in the dark, you are not alone. Sadly, just in terms of acronym use, just last week's meeting, you could have been in the dark and lost with MOC, URA, LPAC, and more. It's acronym junction, folks. It is really exclusive to those in the know. And nothing keeps things less transparent than keeping people in the dark by using acronyms that are not clear communication of what's going on. MOC, get any idea? You refer to it as the palace. MOC, the Municipal Operating Center. Yes. Right? Now,
so are you saying that we need a TLA FAQ?
Absolutely. For the 410.
There we go. Maybe we do need
or I'll need 420.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, I don't know about the 420, but definitely we need something to clarify what the acronyms are. Yeah, I agree.
I don't smoke, Brett, but you get my point.
Oh, yeah.
If you want transparency and trust, do all you can.
Mm-hmm.
ACM.
Mm-hmm.
CM.
Yeah.
ATTY. I get that one. It's an abbreviation. It's not an acronym.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, be clear. And you get 3 minutes as the public. It's bad enough to feel the jitterbug that takes over a lot of people with anxiety. They won't go up there.
Mm-hmm.
You're on camera. You're on microphone. It's double jeopardy.
Yeah.
But it's critical that you get involved. So if you're not comfortable going to the microphone, please write your city council at cityoflaramie.org. Brett.
Okay, well, moving on with the agenda. After the employment contract, the next item on the agenda is submission of an application to the State Loan and Investment Board for a loan for a hydro excavator truck to assist in complying with the lead service line regulation posed by the EPA. This is because the city may have to dig up some old pipes that might or might not have lead in them.
Is this like a pressure washer?
Industrial
mobile unit or what?
No, this is actually an excavator.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to dig up the pipes. And I don't know whether many residents are aware, but some people in Laramie have gotten notice from the city government that there may be lead in their pipes. And not because they necessarily had pipes that were made of lead, but because there were pipes upstream of them that had lead in them. And if you have galvanized plumbing, it is possible for the lead to be washed into your home and attach itself to the galvanized plumbing and then gradually leach out of that. So I got a notice saying that my galvanized pipes could be contaminated with lead. If you get one of those notices, or if you're worried about it at all, I recommend getting a lead test kit. because the city doesn't actually know every place where it might have or have had lead pipes.
You get those at your local grocery store or a convenience store like Supercenter, or where would you get one of these kits?
I ordered mine online. I
Okay.
actually got mine from Amazon.com because they were a convenient place to buy it. There are there are two kinds. There's a kind where you can get a result right away, just by looking at the color of of that it turns, and there are others where you can send a sample off to a lab. The ones where you send a sample off to the lab are usually more sensitive and more accurate.
Good recommendation. Thank you.
But in any case, the city is applying for a grant to get a truck so that it can excavate some of the pipes. Next item on the agenda after that is the surface water drainage ordinance that we talked about, with the caps and the provisions having to do with condominiums. Again, I really think there ought to be a floor or a deductible. Maybe we can bring that up to council during the session. This is the second reading, so hopefully by third reading that if there were an amendment to that effect, it could happen. Item number 14 on the agenda, a reimbursement resolution to pay for qualified capital expenditures and to seek reimbursement for the proceeds of one or more tax-exempt leases. This is complicated, but essentially, this has to do with the city leasing equipment and getting reimbursement for for doing so. Not some kind of a technical item, not very exciting. It will probably just go through with no discussion. The next one is sort of interesting. It is a land purchase agreement between the City of Laramie and Western Water Consultants, WWC. And what it is a contract to buy land. Now, WWC, for those who aren't aware, has a building and a parking lot.
WWC.
Yes, WWC, Western Water Consultants,
Oh, thank you.
has a building on Skyline Drive, not too far from the current police building. And I've actually been in that building and on its rooftop, because the internet service provider that I operate actually has provided internet service to that building. They want to buy this nearby building to expand the police department. Now, it is not clear from this item whether they intend to keep the existing building or demolish it and put up something bigger. There's been talk about their needing to do so. But in any case, this resolution strictly involves buying the land. And I think the sale price is between $200,000 and $300,000 to buy the land. It is convenient to their to the police headquarters there, so it does make sense for them to buy it. I don't think this is going to be controversial at all. Next item. Resolution number 2026-12, adopting the Reconnect West Laramie Plan as certified by the Laramie Planning Commission. And the following item, number 17, is adopting the 10-year public transportation plan, also as certified by the Laramie Planning Commission. Now, we talked about these last week. These are two very big, very ambitious plans having to do with transportation and also footpaths and bike paths to connecting West Laramie and the west side with Laramie proper. And these plans, the first plan, the Reconnect West Laramie plan, is more than 70 pages long. It's huge, and talks about all sorts of things that the city might do to connect across the Union Pacific Railroad. The second one is more than 30 pages long, and it's a public transportation plan, basically a plan for a network of buses and other public transportation going to the west side, going to West Laramie, going clear out to the airport.
Are these 30-page and 70-page supportive documents, are those easy to find on the City of Laramie website?
They're not easy to find, but you can find them. If you go to the Agenda Center, you will find these documents both in the agenda for the Planning Commission, which took place last week, and also for Tuesday night's meeting of the City Council. If you pull up the agenda either as a web page, HTML, or as a PD, another acronym, or as a PDF, yet another acronym.
Now, PDF, what does that stand for?
That it stands for Portable Document Format.
Okay, thanks.
Then you can go ahead and pull up the plans, and they are very extensive and they are very ambitious, and they don't list how we would pay for them. So they are probably infeasible to adopt, and my recommendation is that the council adopt them as aspirational. Specifically say this, that they adopt this is the pie in the sky, the ultimate plans that we would love to have. But
it's important to note that the way grants and funding processes do go, organizations or entities need aspirational reinforcement from government before the grant process or funding process. Many of them can even move forward because they have to be supported, or what would you say, sponsored by. They have to be agreed to by a governmental entity before they can move forward and be funded.
Exactly. And these plans are both so ambitious that they could wipe out, say, full penny of sales tax. Some of them don't actually qualify to be funded that way because things like our fifth penny and sixth penny sales tax, the money has to go toward capital programs, toward building something, capital construction. They're not allowed to be used for recurring expenses like keeping
staffing.
like staffing, like hiring a bus driver, like keeping the bus running and providing fuel for it.
No personnel.
Exactly. And so even the funding sources that are suggested in the documents, which are prepared by outside consultants, don't provide enough funding to actually do these things. So I recommend that people read them and look them over. I recommend the council they're not bad documents, they're not bad plans, take them seriously, but not adopt them as requirements that we must spend the money on, because they're tremendous amounts of money. They would wipe out our budgets for other things that are more necessary. And we really, this is pie in the sky. We may not actually get these things. We might get, for example, a bus loop which gets over to West Laramie. I think that would be a good thing. We might get one or two bike or hiking trails or running trails from Laramie proper over to West Laramie. But let's not expect that we're going to do everything in either one of these plans, because they are very, very ambitious and very, very costly. So anyway, what's next on the agenda after those two? A resolution 2026-14 supporting Albany County's submission of an unmet housing grant application to the State Loan and Investment Board. Essentially, this is this is applying for a grant to help with various housing problems in Laramie. We have somewhat of a shortage of workforce housing, and it's been there has been talk about having mechanisms to make housing less expensive, such as having a land trust which owns the land under houses, so the people only have to buy the house rather than the land that's under them. This would only help somewhat, by the way, because the most expensive part of housing in Wyoming, in Laramie, is the house itself. Land is relatively cheap here, but it might help somewhat. So in any case, that's what this grant application is about. Finally, there's another public comment period where you can get another 3 minutes to talk about anything you want to say to council. Something that's it has
not on the agenda.
It can't be on the agenda, but it can be germane to city affairs in general if it's totally off track. The mayor may say that it's not germane, but you can bend council's ear about the topic of your choosing. And then finally, there's a consideration of future council work session topics. And some of the ones that are coming up are interesting. The first, and I think the most significant, is the council retreat, which is going to happen on January 23rd and 24th. Council every year at the end of January has a full day meeting plus a evening meeting before that, where they talk about their goals for the year and actually create a goal-setting document. This document, when people are advocating for certain items that on the city council agenda during the year, they refer back to this document and they say, see, you set this as a goal, you have to approve this. And so people who are lobbying council for various things, and staff, when they're bringing things to council, refer to this document a lot. So its content is important. This is the retreat on January 23rd and 24th is supposed to be streamed. You may be able to come in on Zoom or on YouTube. Last year, the streaming was not very good. The audio wasn't very intelligible. The video was kind of muddy. Hopefully this year it's going to be better. But anyway, that is an upcoming item that's going to be considered when council talks about upcoming meetings. Then on January 27th, there will be a visit from YDOT, and that's very interesting. The State Transportation Improvement Plan, or STIP, yet another acronym, STIP. And this will be the opportunity for members of the community to talk to YDOT about what they want them to do or should do or could be doing better. This especially may be an opportunity for people to talk about the restriction of left turns along 3rd Street, which unfortunately right now what's going on is the no left turn signs are going on even on weekends and preventing people from turning left into downtown or into the area surrounding the post office where they might need to go. And unfortunately, this clicks on, the no left turn signal clicks on just at the time when you might be rushing to the post office before it closes. So if you're concerned about this, if these signs have impeded you in various ways, if you're a downtown business owner who is concerned about access to downtown and these signs frustrating people who are trying to get to your business, you may want to comment on the 27th. Now, there are more upcoming council meetings on this agenda, on this schedule going forward, but after this point, they're tentative, so it may not be relevant to comment much about them.
What influence does the city of Laramie or the citizens of Laramie have with respect to the arrow directional time of day signage that has been added to 3rd Street, also Highway 287?
Well, it's a state highway, so ultimately the state gets to control what happens there. If they want to put in a traffic restriction, they have the authority to do so. But they state in the information surrounding the State Transportation Improvement Plan that they want input from the public, that they want input from the city council. And so they ought to be open to suggestions, at least according to what they assert themselves. And so hopefully this will be an opportunity to give them feedback, and hopefully they'll listen.
Really odd to me, traveling northbound on 3rd Street from the 700 blocks, St. Lawrence School area, north on 3rd Street, to encounter not one directional not allowing a left turn into Grand, into the heart of downtown, but then one also at Ivinson Avenue not allowing a left turn and having to go 3 blocks out of Norm to enter downtown, then return back to where I wanted to go in the first place, but couldn't go without, frankly, doing a swastika through downtown in order to park directly where space was available in front of Martindale's Western Store.
Yeah. Now, if you knew that this was coming, if you were very familiar with Laramie, you might be able to turn left at Garfield before you got to Grand. But if you're a visitor and your GPS is directing you to downtown, and well, the exact time the lights will be lit is variable. Your GPS might not know. And so, as I've mentioned before, you'll get to Grand, your GPS is telling you to turn left. You look up, you see the sign, you can't turn left. You go another block. Your GPS goes recalculating, and it may recalculate by the time you get to Ivinson, depending on the traffic flow. And it tells you to turn left at Ivinson. But you look up and you see the sign, and you can't turn there either. And so you go another block. And if it recalculates in time, it will tell you to turn left at University. And you turn left at University, and there you are already almost past the core of downtown. So it will then hopefully lead you around the block and back to where you intended to go. But that's very awkward and very frustrating. The southbound no left turn sign is at University, which is right where you would turn to go to the post office. So you are diverted, you go another block. Well, now you've got to cross. Now you've got to turn left at Ivinson. There are two busy crosswalks there, and another one at 4th and Ivinson. And then you can pass in front of City Hall. And if you know where you're going, at that point you'll turn left and come back up 5th Street, another block and a half to the post office.
These are all street lights. There's street lights at each of these intersections anyway.
That's right. You go through another two stoplights and may have to wait. So it really takes you a long way, and it's not clear that it does any good, because you're crossing the same 2 lanes of traffic when you eventually turn left, and you're doing that in a more congested area where it's harder to turn left.
How do we deal with change? How do we accept change? Was this change for change's sake?
I'm not sure how YDOT came up with the idea.
No, wait a minute. You're on the Traffic and Safety Committee.
But the Traffic Safety Commission was not asked where they thought the left turn signs should be. There was a presentation where we were told that there were going to be some, but we never had an opportunity to suggest the locations.
You mean an organized commission? An organized commission comprised of citizen volunteers was not asked? You said public comment had been asked for.
It's YDOT's policy to ask. At least,
to call for it, to advertise for it, but do they want it?
But they did not ask the Traffic Safety Commission about the exact times or locations. They just said generally they were going to do it. And so, and this was during a presentation where they weren't asking for input. They were just presenting it as a fait accompli. So there wasn't really an opportunity. So this meeting on the 27th is really going to be the best time for public input and and for the public to talk about maybe moving the signs, maybe not having 2 of them in a row when you're coming northbound, maybe having a really, really good directional sign telling people, if we're going to have no left turns, telling people to turn down Garfield before they pass almost all of downtown when they're coming northbound. All of this is open for open for consideration, and I think we should talk to them about it.
And what else on this week's agenda?
Well, that's it for the agenda. There is one thing which is on sort of on the agenda of our sun. If there's a clear night tonight, folks might want to look to the north and see if they can see the northern lights, because the sun has just had an event called a coronal mass ejection. And when the material that the sun has ejected hits Earth's atmosphere, you get all sorts of brilliant colors. They're just charged particles hitting the Earth's atmosphere. You can get brilliant displays of aurora borealis, and normally this far south you don't see that. But tonight and tomorrow night, there is going to be so much solar activity that you should be able to see the northern lights from Wyoming. So take this opportunity to look to the north. Maybe find a clear place with not too much light. You may be able to see the northern lights in Laramie.
Brett Glass, in the beginning of our program, we talked about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. quotes. Well, I found one that I would share, 2 that I will share. The first, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And the second is fond for me. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And those two take us to my third that I'll mention. This one's quite popular. The time is always right to do what is right. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We honor him today and throughout the year in many ways, shapes, and form, but perhaps not enough. The city's decision not to make it an honored holiday for staff and personnel, that's surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Would have been 97 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Glass and myself, Eric Henderson, this is the City Council Agenda Preview Show on The Talk Shop, brought to you today by Lariat.net, your internet services in Laramie, locally provided. Pole Mountain Pharmacy, dedicated to the health and wellness of Southeast Wyoming from their location at 4th and Harney. And Perkins Restaurant and Bakery.